I lead with my heart. I lead with love. And I know that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for, God's grace and the faith that I have in God's plan for me, because this is all a blessing, and I get a chance to do what I love at a university that I love. And I'm grateful that I'm fulfilling that God's plan for me is as big as it is.
From the campus of Our Lady's University, this is For Good, Stories from Notre Dame, a behind-the-scenes glimpse into life under the Golden Dome and the powerful stories that drive Notre Dame to become a force for good in the world. Greetings and welcome to For Good, Stories from Notre Dame. Today we're coming to you from the beautiful home of Notre Dame basketball in Rolfe's Athletics Hall. Some of you may remember this facility in its days as the Rolfe Sports Recreation Center, open to all students for their physical health. Following a 22-month renovation, the new Rolfe's Athletics Hall welcomed our women's and men's basketball programs in November of 2019. The 77,000 square foot basketball facility features dedicated team rooms, locker rooms, and video rooms for each program. The lower level features nutrition space, a sports medicine facility, a large strength and conditioning center, and 2 separate practice gyms, each with a full-sized replica of Notre Dame's home court in Purcell Pavilion. The upper level includes office suites for each program and a spectator viewing area with trophy displays to celebrate the wonderful achievements of our Fighting Irish basketball student athletes and coaches. This state-of-the-art athletics facility would not have been possible without the generosity of many donors and supporters. In particular, we are grateful for the foundational gift from Karen and Kevin Keys, as well as the lead gifts from many others, including 334 former women's and men's basketball players. The level of support is truly extraordinary. Today, I am thrilled to be joined by the Karen and Kevin Keys family head women's basketball coach, Niele Ivey. Niele was named head coach at Notre Dame in April of 2020 after spending 12 seasons as an assistant to Hall of Fame coach Coach McGraw and 1 year as an assistant with the Memphis Grizzlies. She is a former All-American and a national championship winning player for the Fighting Irish, a WNBA alum, and one of the most talented and decorated athletes to ever wear a Notre Dame uniform in any sport. Now, she is the first Black female head coach in Notre Dame history, and only the 4th ever women's basketball coach at Notre Dame. Coach Ivey, thanks so much for joining us, and it's great to be with you. So tell us a little bit about your transition, but first let's talk about last year. You win the ACC regular season championship, and you're chosen as the ACC Coach of the Year. Tell us a little bit about your philosophy and how, in such a short time, you're able to reach those heights.
Yes, well, just honestly grateful to be here. Number one, grateful to be able to lead this university and this program. So a program that I just love, so passionate about Notre Dame and so passionate about Notre Dame women's basketball. My vision is to win. My vision is to be the best. And fortunately, I've learned that under Coach McGraw. And so I want to bring the same experiences to my team that I've had as a player. Yeah. And obviously, winning at the highest level, that's always the goal. Yeah. But also doing it with a service mentality. Yeah. I always talk about, love, serve, and mentor. And so having a service mindset, but also the mentoring part is really important to me as I'm their leader.
Yeah. So you look like you haven't changed at all. I was there when you won the national championship game in your hometown of St. Louis. In fact, I flew back with you guys on the plane. I'm sure it was an absolute afterthought. But you had just won in your neck of the woods, and you look like you could be a player today. It's crazy because that was over 20 years ago. Yes. Right? Mm-hmm. So while I've certainly aged, you have not. You're doing a great job with this program. What was it like to win the national championship back in your hometown?
It was just magical.
Yeah.
I never would expect it as a freshman.
Yeah.
That I would have the opportunity to win at home in my hometown. My entire family was there. The principal of my high school,
Yeah.
My high school coach, my grade school coach. I had over 150 ticket requests.
Wow.
So being able to, it almost like my whole journey came full circle.
Yeah.
With that experience going back home. Unfortunately, I suffered 2 ACL injuries, so I dealt with a lot of adversity as a student athlete here.
Right.
Had the opportunity to go a 5th year with my redshirt year. And I always felt like going through those injuries that they were heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You know, having to sit out. And then when I realized, like, my 5th year, that the championship was going to be hosted in St. Louis,
Yeah.
it kind of gave me another version of my purpose.
Right.
You know, I was like, okay, I always felt like things happen for a reason. Everything
Right.
happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And God doesn't give his battles to just anyone. He gives it to his strongest soldiers. And so I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this is my opportunity to come back and, you know, be able to play in my hometown. But
Yeah.
it was a blessing.
So
to say the least.
coaching in the NBA and winning a national championship, everybody must think that that's going to help you to be a great coach. But having 2 ACL injuries and having to come back from that, how do you think that's made you a better coach?
Yes, just my strength and not being too high or too low in different circumstances because I had to adjust.
Right.
I had to pivot
Yeah.
after going through my injury, and I worked on my mental health. I worked on seeing the game from a different mental perspective, which has really helped me as a head coach, but
Right.
also being able to relate to my players that when, unfortunately, you know, I have players that are coming back from injury.
Right.
My best point guard is coming back from an ACL
Right.
injury. And
Right.
so I feel like those experiences help me to be able to relate to my players and
Yeah.
give them actually firsthand experiences and lessons that I've learned and give them guidance as they're going through injuries.
Yeah, just to have that example that there is life after a traumatic injury, you know,
Absolutely.
as devastating as it feels, and you testify to that by your own example. That's incredible. So you go away to Xavier. I totally forgot about your year at Xavier. But then Muffet recruits you back. And for 12 years, you work under your coach as, you know, her chief assistant. What did you learn from those years? What are your biggest takeaways from being an assistant coach under Muffet? And how do you think that served you to be a better head coach?
Yes, I learned so much from Coach McGraw. I knew that I needed to be a sponge from day one. It was an honor to be able to come back, and I didn't realize coaching was going to be my passion until I was in it.
Yeah.
You know, having that stint at Xavier gave me a perspective of, wow, this is an opportunity for me to stay involved in the game, stay around the game, and to impact young players.
Right.
And so that's where I kind of grew my love for coaching, and then
Yeah.
to get that call from Muffet, like that was a blessing, because I know in this business, you have to be given an opportunity. And so she gave me an opportunity without having any experience. So I'm so grateful for her for that. The things I've taken away would be just her commitment to excellence in everything that she does and everything that she did. Her approach to working, her being a wife and a mother.
Right.
You know, she wore a lot of different hats that I admired about her.
Yeah.
You know, my biggest role models are my mom because of her strength and what she taught me and the values that she taught me, and then Coach McGraw. You know,
Yeah.
I felt like it was an extenuation of my mom, the relationship that I had with her
Right.
as a player and a coach. But just her commitment to excellence, I think, is the number one thing. And that goes in the way she plans, the way she prepares, the way she scouts, how she connects with her team,
Right.
and what she does off the court. You know, she has a really strong voice. She's
Right.
very powerful.
That's right.
And that's something that I took away from her as well.
That's fantastic. You know, having worked with Muffet a little bit over the years, people just think that at times, like, she just really wanted to win. But maybe deeper than that, she just hated to lose, right? I mean, she was inconsolable after losses, right? I mean, just, you know, and so people don't always see that side of what, you know, how do you wear a loss? I mean, how do you come back from that? It's a long season. You talked earlier about, you know, staying pretty level between the highs and the lows. Muffet wasn't always really level, right? I would see some of her highs and lows. How do you deal with a really tough loss
Right.
or tough losses?
Right. It's definitely difficult.
Yeah.
And it's just, I try to always put things in perspective and try to give myself kind of like that 24-hour rule.
Yeah.
Where I'll sit with my emotions, I'll sit with the things that I'm trying to take away from that loss,
Yeah.
and then move on the next day. And I'm a true believer that you learn the most when you're going through a loss.
Yeah.
You learn the most. I
Yeah.
feel like that's where the growth
Yeah.
really happens. And so I try to look at it from that perspective. And again, I've learned a lot. I've learned from some things to do and some things not to do, as
You're
far
right.
as just learning from different coaches and
Right.
asking a lot of coaches. I reached out to a lot of my mentors who are, head coaches now, and I asked them, try to give me advice of how
Yeah.
to deal with things. But I think putting things into perspective is what I've tried to do with my losses.
So our kids have grown up together a little bit. I could use that 24-hour rule in dealing with my kids, right? Like you're ready to, kill them at different moments, and take 24 hours, compose your emotions. Are you able to do that as a parent?
Yes, but
You
it took
are?
me a while.
It did, okay.
It took me a while.
But the
'Cause
coaching helped you with the parenting, probably.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Just the discipline part of it, and
Yeah.
seeing things differently as a mother and as coach.
Yeah, fantastic. So the 1 year that you spent with the Memphis Grizzlies had to be just an amazing year. You were one of the pioneer female coaches in the NBA. What did you learn from that year, and how do you think that made you different when you came back to be the head coach at Notre Dame?
I learned so much that year. And I say the first thing I learned the most was probably culture. That coach, Taylor Jenkins, was his first year taking over that organization. He was
Yeah.
a top assistant with the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
And I thought he did an incredible job of kind of implementing his vision
Right.
and establishing his culture. Because
Yeah.
it was a rebuild that year. They brought in, obviously, Ja Morant, just
Right.
their top draft pick.
Yeah.
And it was a rebuild coming off of not making the playoffs in the last maybe several years.
Right.
He really did a great job of just implementing his system and
Yep.
his culture,
Yep.
his culture of winning, and
Right.
he took off that year. We had a fantastic year his
Right.
first year, and
Right.
then year 2, year 3, you can see it all coming to life.
Right.
The things that he implemented when he first stepped on in Memphis, and that's the number one thing I took away: the way that he organized his staff.
Right.
NBA is a huge staff. You have to organize and navigate a lot of different positions. Player development, I learned that from him and all the coaches. I was a
Right.
part of, like you mentioned, like the only female on staff, but
Yeah.
I learned from other collegiate men coaches, some European coaches that were on staff. So
Right.
I learned the game from a totally different set of eyes,
Yeah.
which I think was very influential for me being head coach here at Notre Dame. And then just this X's and O's, analytics. I was getting my doctorate.
Yeah.
Our work hours started at 7 a.m. and it was just all basketball. It was no recruiting. So
Right.
I got a chance to really dive into the basketball piece, all the X's and O's.
That's fantastic. What a privileged opportunity. What were your set of responsibilities? It seemed like you and Ja Morant got to be very close.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I had my list of players that I worked with, just
Yeah.
like here at Notre Dame.
Okay.
I worked with Skylar, Enrique. So
Yeah.
I had a balance. So I had a little bit of Ja, mostly just off the court.
Yeah.
And then I had some post players. So
Yeah.
it was a completely different shift for me because I've always worked with point guards.
Right.
And when I got there, I worked with Jay Crowder, who's with
Yeah.
the Bucks now.
Yeah.
He's like a 3-4.
Right.
Solomon Hill.
Yeah.
And
He's
then
a
again,
mean dude. He's
Yes.
tough inside.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Tyus Jones, I worked with him a little bit, Grayson Allen. So I
Yeah.
got a chance to really work with a couple different positions,
Yeah.
which was great. And then I was the liaison for the analytics team.
Yeah.
And so I kind of carried the message of Coach Jenkins.
Yeah.
Whatever he needed, I was kind of the liaison for that. So
Yeah.
got a chance to learn it from an analytical standpoint, which was really, really awesome.
Fantastic. I'm not going to ask you if Grayson tripped you in practice.
Nicest guy ever.
Is he really?
Completely different from what I expected.
Is it
So,
really?
yes.
Okay, great. That's really good to hear. All right, so you are an exceptional recruiter. What do you tell families? How do you connect with the recruit and the parents? And what do you say about Notre Dame to get so much talent to come this way?
I'm fortunate that I have a lot to talk about when it comes to Notre Dame, and my energy and passion for this university, I think, speaks when I'm meeting them.
Yeah.
I try to be very authentic
Yeah.
in my conversations, and I'm only coming from my heart because this is
Yeah.
what Notre Dame has done for me. So I try to give a lot of experiences. I'm a player's coach. I talk about my time here.
Yep.
I talk about my time as an assistant, the impact that Notre Dame has had on me, and what I've learned, and all the different avenues, and the tradition of excellence, and the winning part, the winning
Right.
culture, and all of it. I kind of speak from my heart. So when they leave, they feel like, wow, she's definitely a real coach. She's very authentic. And
Right.
I think that's why I resonate with conversations with families, because I've been through it. I understand, I know. I'm not speaking from, I'm speaking from experience. I'm showing them the rings. We have so much to offer student athletes.
Right.
And luckily, we've aligned with the right players, and the families that come on campus, like, they understand the value of Notre Dame. And we try to continue to share those messages and continue to share what makes Notre Dame so special and unique, because we're not for everybody.
Yeah.
But this place is special, it's unique, and I share my love and passion in everything that I do when I'm representing and I'm speaking on Notre Dame. So I'm hoping that that's the reason why I've been fortunate to attract so many high-level players.
Yeah, and you've been recruited yourself at the highest level. And then as a parent, you got to go through it again with Jaden, and to see him getting recruited. So that's got to help you out to have been on the other side of this in two different ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I learned a lot by being recruited. And
Yeah.
I used some of the tactics that coaches were doing on me. I used those to my advantage, because I felt like if something really spoke to me or resonated with me, I kind of used that in my recruiting.
Yeah.
The way that they connected and communicated with me. So it was a win-win for me. I got a chance to be recruited. I got a chance to see what other universities, their tactics, what they do when they recruit, and I use the things that I felt were really special.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, everybody's talking now about NIL. At Notre Dame, we talk about not just name, image, and likeness, but also ideas, because our students generate NILI. We say, I think we're unique in that framework, but also the transfer portal. You didn't lose any players last year to the transfer portal, and you have a lot of talent on this team coming back. How do you manage, how has this changed your life, NIL and the transfer portal?
It's changed everything from a coaching perspective. Walking in here year one, the pandemic was a total shift for me.
Right.
And then the next year, the one-time transfer, waiver, and then NIL. So it's changed the landscape of recruiting and coaching tremendously. And I've learned to navigate through a lot of those situations. Every year is a different year. But I feel like I don't feel like I have to recruit, because I feel like some coaches say you're still recruiting your own team. I feel like I'm lucky that I have the right players here that understand. They understand the value of what we're creating here together. And I feel like I'm trying to just establish those relationships throughout the year, so that, and I'm very transparent. And I'm hoping that's going to continue to help me maintain and retain the roster. But it's a lot, to be honest. It's very difficult, and every year shows a different side of the game. Every year, one year I lost five players. The next year maybe only one, and then last year 0. So the trend is in the way that I like it, retaining, because that's important to me. I want to grow with my team. That's a big recruiting pitch for me. I want the team, my players, to come in as freshmen, for me to help them in their journey, and whatever that is, if that's corporate, if that's the WNBA, if that's overseas, I want to be able to grow with my team, and that's what I talk about a lot.
Charles Darwin said that the survival of a species will not go to the smartest or the fittest, but rather to those that are most readily adaptable to change. And in your short tenure, 4th year as head coach, you've seen so much change from COVID, NIL, transfer portal, everything else, but you've adapted incredibly well, which is a great compliment to you and the program. You've made some references already to faith. And it seems like faith is kind of a cornerstone, especially with all of the fluctuations, the ups and downs in this business. What role does faith play in all of this for you?
Faith is the most vital role in my life. I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for my relationship with God, if it wasn't for the favor and grace that is over my life because of God. I mean, I have very strong spiritual beliefs. Like you mentioned, I've had a lot that's happened to me. I have had a lot of adversity. Single mother, raising my son was not easy. A lot of sacrifices. And the only reason that I'm still sitting here strong and happy and successful is because of my faith and the grace that God has over my life and the favor that I have. And so that's that drives me. That's part of my purpose, is to hopefully exude that faith in what I do and the way that I lead. I lead with my heart. I lead with love. And I know that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for God's grace and the faith that I have and God's plan for me, because this is all a blessing, and I get a chance to do what I love at a university that I love.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that I'm fulfilling that God's plan for me is as big as it is.
Yeah. Do you think that being at Notre Dame, it gives you license or the freedom to talk about your faith and maybe in a way that it would be more difficult at another place?
I do. I think Notre Dame being a faith-based is Catholic institution, but also it's not a requirement. You don't have to come in being Catholic. It's a faith-based institution that has such incredible people here. And I do feel it gives me a kind of a license to be able to speak my truth freely and not be ashamed, or I can be unapologetically myself here. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the space that Notre Dame provides for me.
Yeah. Well, this next stat just blows me away, that all 9 of Notre Dame women's basketball Final Four appearances you have been in, 2 as a player and 7 as an assistant coach. And I think very soon, the 10th will be as a head coach here really quickly. This year's team seems to me from afar like it could be really special. You've got a lot of talent. You had a great run last year with a few pieces missing perhaps. How do you feel about this upcoming season and the group of young women that you're honored to coach?
I feel great about this season. I'm so excited. And like you mentioned, we have a lot of talent on this team. And I'm so grateful for everyone that's here. I feel like everyone is going to play a critical role in our success this year. Last year we talked about being hungry for more. This year, we're ready. Like we talk about just rising up to the challenge. Starting in Paris against South Carolina, we have an incredible schedule. But I just feel like I have just an incredible team to work with. I'm excited to go to war with them. This is probably the most competitive group that I've had. I've had really good teams, and we've grown every year. But this team, I really feel like they have an edge to them, the way that they play, and that's a tribute to, we have our little feisty point guard, Hannah Hidalgo. She's bringing a level of swag. We have Olivia Miles. We have Sonia Citron. List can go on and on. But I think we have players that want to win, and they're really driven. They're really competitive, and they're really close. We have a great close-knit group.
So how about on this court? I mean, you got a lot of talented players. So they're all vying for time. It's got to get scrappy in practice sometimes, a little chippy. And my guess is that you want some of that, but at the same time, you got to come back in and remind them that they're teammates. How do you manage all that?
Well, fortunately, I had that with Arike, with Skylar. I've had my experience with Jewel Lloyd. Our practices were extremely competitive. Because you mentioned all of them, they're really, really talented. But we understand that practices need to be harder than games. And I invite that atmosphere. I want it to be competitive, and that's something that we've been trying to create here as coaches since we've been back. And I think competition is healthy.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Jaden. So I mentioned to you as we just got together that I look into the box scores every night in the NBA, and he and Pat Connaughton, I look to see what their line was for the night. And we're so proud of him, having grown up here and in South Bend and having such an amazing, career at Purdue. Now being one of the 5th draft pick in the NBA, which is amazing, and having a great rookie year with the Detroit Pistons. How do you balance it all? I mean, you are in a really high-profile head coaching position, but you're also a parent, and you've got a young son still that's on the road. I mean, things are happening really fast for him. How do you manage the balance there?
Yeah, well, I've tried to be as present as I can. That might be a FaceTime call. If there's any opportunities or breaks in my schedule, I make sure that I try to get to him. I had a day off yesterday. Went down to Detroit just to spend the day with him. And I try to find those pockets of time to spend with him because I feel like being present is the best gift I can give him. And that's what I've learned as being a working mother my entire life with him. I've fortunately had an incredible village that helped me raise him. I had an opportunity to bring him when he was younger with me a lot as I worked as an assistant coach. But now as head coach, I just try to find those pockets of time to spend with him. And his schedule is so busy that he can barely get up to South Bend. So if that means I'm driving to Chicago to go to a game, if I have time, or Indianapolis, I'm always trying to look for moments that I can spend with him.
To
connect with him, just to be there. But then again, fortunate that the NBA provides opportunities for me to watch him play a lot.
Right.
So I never miss a game. I miss a lot of games in person.
Yeah.
But with NBA League Pass and that he plays on TV so much, I get a chance to watch him all the time, or I'll DVR it and play and watch him if we're playing. But I feel like
call him after a game, after watching a game, and kind of how much does you as coach come in, and how much you try to like pull back and just be the mother?
Yes, I feel like since he's been in college, since he was in college, I pulled back. In high school, like his upperclassmen years, I try to just be mom, more.
Right.
But I'm always have a listening ear for him when I feel like he needs the coaching side of me.
Yeah.
And sometimes he'll ask for it, and then I'll make sure. But I'm always sending positive messages and spiritual. I think parts of scripture that maybe I think he needs or can resonate with him. Just to try to connect with him from a more spiritual level. But I'm there for whatever he needs, and he knows that. If that means like, okay, I gotta drive up to Detroit because I think he needs me.
Right.
We try to read into each other as much as we can.
Yeah. Well, the AAU circuit, I'm sure that he was traveling all over, when he was in high school, and when you're really good. A lot of people probably pop up to drive him places, right?
Yes.
My kids, I was driving the really good kids around with my kids on the side, so we were the drivers. But we're so proud of him, and we're so excited about watching the future unfold. But it's not an easy lifestyle, right? I mean, you tasted it in the WNBA for a number of years, but it's almost nomadic, right? I mean, the NBA season is long, and he's traveling on the road, and being able to kind of keep that balance and keep mentally healthy on top of everything else is not easy.
Yes,
right?
It's definitely been challenging.
Yeah.
I think social media kind of shows a different side. You think that everything is beautiful, but it's a lot of long nights.
Yeah.
It's a lot of tears.
Right.
I've had many nights of guilt, not being there.
Right.
Sometimes it's been really difficult not being able to be there. So the times that I am there, I'm really grateful because I've had moments of, like I said, guilt, just kind of mother guilt of feeling like I'm missing out, the fear of missing out. I've had that a lot in my career. And even as head coach, there's certain moments where if he had a tough game or, they come off of a 10-game losing streak, it's like, I would like to be in the tunnel just to give him a hug.
Exactly.
So sometimes the hard parts, they come out. But again, we're both blessed. He's living his dream. He manifested this. So I try to think of those. I try to think of that too.
The positive.
The positive when times get tough, because
that's great.
We are doing something that, it's just a blessing.
Well, the Tennessee State home football weekend, as you know, was the first HBCU to come in here and play a football game on campus. And there was a big panel discussion that you were a core part of, speaking about kind of leadership, culture, and diversity. Being the first Black female head coach in the history of Notre Dame, and really one of the pioneers in the NBA and everything that you've done with your life, does that add pressure? How do you balance that as you step into this role and you think about everybody else that you could be paving the way for to have greater opportunity? So how do you balance that in everything that you're doing?
Right. I don't see it as pressure. I think it's a blessing, and I honestly feel like Lord has placed me in this position because He knew that I can handle it, and He knew that I would be able to inspire people that are watching my journey. And I feel like I learned that with the Memphis Grizzlies. I think that was probably the first time that I felt in an uncomfortable space.
Right.
I was away from Notre Dame. I've never been away from Notre Dame. And I'm walking into this entire organization, this league, the highest, never coached men. It was like I was a fish out of water.
Right.
I wasn't comfortable in that space, and I learned to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that was a big part of my growth. But while I was there, I just remembered, like, everyone is watching me. There's young girls that are coming up to me in the games that wanted to take a picture with me or for me to sign an autograph. Now, I have John Morant sitting next to me, but they want to sign my autograph because of the impact that I was making in the Memphis community. And so I took that on. It was almost like that was my cape that I wore. I stood stronger, prouder because of that position, and I understood the magnitude more there. And so when I took over here at Notre Dame, I understood what this meant. And it's an honor for me. It's an honor for me to be a trailblazer. It's an honor for me to pave the way because I know the opportunities that were that were given to me.
Yeah.
And so it's a blessing. And like I said, I love it. I love being in this role because I know that it's impacting and inspiring other people.
How long do you think it will be before there is a woman as the head NBA coach or the head of a major men's collegiate program?
I hope in this next decade. You know, I felt like Becky Hammon was kind of up next.
Right.
I think she's that top person that could break that ceiling.
Right.
And so I'm hoping that happens in the next 5-10 years.
Yeah.
I think we're there.
Yeah, fantastic. So this year, I'm getting really excited about the season. I can't wait to come out and watch you guys play in person and then, you know, on the road. And what are the hopes? What are the team's expectations going into this season?
Yes, our expectation is very high. Our preseason ranking just came out. I think we were 10.
Yeah.
And I try not to look at those because I want.
But you do.
I do because it was plastered everywhere on social media.
Yeah.
So we understand the expectation, the standard that we have for ourselves.
Right.
And so, you know, our goal is to win. And our goal is to be undefeated going into the ACC conference.
Yeah.
Our goal is to be undefeated at home.
Yeah.
And for me, my goal is to be undefeated with every top team that we play, every ranked opponent. And our first one happens to be South Carolina. So on a neutral ground.
Yeah.
And we're really blessed to be in this game.
Yeah.
It's a historical game.
Right.
And so we're going to take advantage of that experience. We get a chance to connect with the community. We have a clinic that's a kind of a give back that we're doing there. We're getting a chance to, view the Louvre Museum, and we have dinner on the Seine River. So there's a lot of things that are happening that are very special. But I want to leave with a dub. So that's the goal.
And you're going to come back more fashionable than ever
yes,
for the season, right?
Go there more fashionable and come home more fashionable.
I love it.
But I'm a big fan of Dawn Staley, and I'm a big fan of what she's done for the game.
Yeah.
She's really given a lot of African American women opportunity.
Yep.
And she has an incredible voice, and so I'm grateful to be alongside her in this game because it definitely it's more than it's bigger than basketball.
That's
so
right.
Of course we both want to win. We're both competitive.
Right.
But we understand the impact we're making nationally and internationally.
Well, we're thrilled about the season. One final question: what is your why? Why do you? I mean, you put in so much work and effort, and it's gut wrenching, right? I mean, it's things don't always. A bad injury here, a tough loss there. What keeps you going? What is your why?
Yeah, I always feel like my son is my why. Even though he's 21 years old, he's always been my driving force, my motivation in everything that I've done. And, now that he's leading his own career and making his own way, I always feel like still in my heart, he's always going to be my driving force. My family, they're definitely my why. And honestly, just these young women here. I come in every day, I don't feel like it's work.
Yeah.
It's really gratifying to be able to impact these young women and to be their coach. And so they also drive me. They're definitely my purpose and my why.
Yeah. Well, Niele, we are so blessed to still have you here, always as part of the Notre Dame family, but leading this incredible program and being the role model and mentor for not only these women who you directly oversee on a daily basis, but for so many others out there and part of the Notre Dame family who I know admire you, respect you, love you, and are pulling for you every step of the way. As we're a university that is dedicated to Our Lady, what we always try to do is close these interviews and invite everyone to join in with us with a Hail Mary. So please join us wherever you are. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Take care. God bless. Go Irish. Thanks
Go
again.
Irish.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this episode of For Good, Stories from Notre Dame, where we explore the remarkable impact of Our Lady's University. In this series of conversations, we offer a behind-the-scenes glimpse into life under the Golden Dome and discuss the innovative, diverse, and powerful ways that Notre Dame strives to be a force for good in the world. You can find upcoming and previous episodes on our YouTube channel, ND Loyal, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Join us next time as we continue to uncover how Notre Dame is impacting the world for good, one story at a time.
Okay, we have a special surprise for you.
Ooh.
We have a pair of basketball shoes because you are the best basketball player on campus. People just don't know that. You are our All-American.
Oh,
so here's a
my
pair of shoes.
God, are you kidding me? I'm like
Yes.
really excited about this. This is really cool.
Yes, so congratulations
Oh,
to you.
thank
And then I think
you.
you're gonna shoot a couple baskets with us.
Oh my God, should I strap on the shoes?
I think so. yeah.
Okay.
All right, just make sure that your focus is over the rim.
Over the rim.
Make sure your elbow and your follow through are there. Okay.
Keep it in
Yeah,
tucked in.
I trust it. Oh, see the follow through.
Yeah,
Follow through probably needs just a little bit
Okay.
higher.
All right, if I hit this free throw, the Pistons are going to win it all this year.
Oh wow. Okay. Hey,
Oh, go Pistons!
that was on camera too, so I
That's
gotta
enough.
send that to
That's
Monty.
exactly right.
I'll send that to Monty and Jay.
Yeah, please do.